So, Doc, is everything okay with me?
You just have some collateral effects. Look at your clothes.
And the walls with all the drawing?
No, that's a collateral effect of having little kids around.
Okay, sure. But should I do anything about this?
You should see if the chroma key works and not continue if it does not.
Okay, but about myself.
You should relax. Why don't you read Black Lion to calm yourself down?
I haven't read it at all. And you?
I'm just a figment of your imagination.
Huh? Okay.
That's...
Hi beautiful people, and welcome to another feeling around the dark room that is my mind. Pepah from 2008, hold the bacon, a dash of Game of Thrones and an extra portion of tits? Or is that already implied? No, this is a newer story for a character created in 1982 and published in comic strips on O Globo newspaper from 1987 to 1989, where I assume there were less tits. It's a story for adults with a medieval setting. And tits. So it can't show much. It's simply a show of habits of the people in question. In an unnamed world with numerous tribes scattered and professions such as barbarian and conqueror, it seems quite adequate that people wouldn't worry about modesty or that the concept would be less about the dress codes instead of sexual behavior. Tits hanging out isn't much, but we'll go back to the behavior. And the tits. The cover isn't bad, but the depriving of details by blending brow and lighting slightly licking sully the more remarkable moment simulated in the mural. The white hair is still quite highlighted, getting your attention and even representing well the movement amid the rest, but that's severely diminished by the coloring around it, both the light and the brown. I personally find the black in the story works better, creating a nice contrast. It's the very common, significantly considered adaptation largely erroneous syndrome, or scales for short. Unfortunately, it's not unusual for a story whose aesthetics don't support a lot of detail to get a cover that overly details a scene to its detriment, in an attempt to convince the customer to buy, not for curiosity, but by the skill of the artist. And you can call attention a skill, or tits. But if it doesn't fit, it's like making sure to show each scale in a fish that's just passing by, or every line on a plane. Just look at the characters in the back cover. The coloring is much closer to the effect you get on the inside, besides almost seeing tits. And the attitude is much closer to their personality in the book. Pepah is the exception in both cases, but for an action scene, the moment the fight is interrupted isn't a good choice. And that for adults should be in the front cover and much more visible. You know, because of the tits. The art has a vibe of Herculoids or thunder taken seriously. Dragons, gigantic monsters beings, barbarian tribes, those things. But no blonde whoopies, and I don't remember seeing blue bleed slimes or borings. And the quality of the black and white is great, giving out the shadows without looking dirty or lazy. There are some moments where the art fails, getting a little too dark, or "Don't look out for my arm, it gets scared," with odd proportions or the like. But these are rare and never really seem too fan servicey, despite tits. Spoilers ahead, by the way. And tits? No, I'll censor it! You already took my Mosing video. Why don't you pay attention to what you're doing? Pepah is the story of how a mercenary's daughter wants to live with her father, getting to know him and his family, practicing to become a mercenary, and you're still a damsel. Yes, but she's female. Don't you care if an asshole mistreats her? Of course I do. That's why she's the one who chose a cat in the city instead of being grabbed by force on a camp, agree? Which will happen sooner or later, but then you won't be a scared kitten anymore, will you? Yep. The conflict of the story is how this 12-year-old girl is going to become a woman. It also pertains to her becoming a mercenary, but mostly about having sex. After a page presenting the characters, including the half-panther, half-lion Pepah, And we start with 2 pages detailing Pepah's situation. And right after she meets her father, who she is fascinated by, and her half-brother, who immediately feels attracted to her and only controls himself when he finds out about their kinship. A man can go nuts because of tits. You're young, but you don't have half of Pepah's intelligence. Thanks with this so much you can't even sleep right. And I'm not skipping anything. Except the tits. This is the biggest difficulty in talking about the book. The story heavily depends on sexuality and on the reader having a good understanding that the idea of sex would have been different in such a scenario. The felines of electric noise are nostalgic to me, but they are a fantasy version of the Age of Castles. The concept of child was different. In art, until the 16th century, children were just miniature adults, and teenagehood didn't even exist in people's minds until the 19th century. So the issues of age and kinship are different. In other words, it would be a waste of time talking about if what happens is or isn't incest or pedophilia. Or about the tits. The bigger issues are of agency and autonomy, and I can easily say that the sexuality in the book is treated positively. Most of the time. In the Panther tribe Pepah was raised in, the tradition is that sexual relations and the continuity of a marriage are controlled by the female. This leads Pepah to offer herself sexually various times, according to her will, including to her father,
Electra complex,
to her half-brother, and to her uncle, king of an island which the family returns to when needing a safe haven. Well, genetic sexual attraction does exist. The attraction to people closely related to you that you never met until you were an adult. And I could talk about that. Or about the tits. But the story makes it clear that her intention is not due to an uncontrollable sexual desire, but rather a more natural attitude toward sexual encounters. So much so that her relatives don't penalize her for her promiscuity despite refusing her offers. That's not to say that the book objectifies the character. At points, character treats her like an object, but the art demonstrates this is not normal. Be it showing her irritated at her half-brother pinching her nipple without consent, which leads to the previously shown moments, or when she is seen by all as a body to be used and is visibly sad. The medieval attitude permeates the book, with the king promising his daughters to his nephew and her mother encouraging him to ignore a possible encounter between them despite their age, Pepah herself being abandoned by her father and him famously having various lovers and countless bastards, and rapes being mentioned as common. However, when such a thing would be shown, it would have been done by strangers, and it is interrupted before it begins by her half-brother. In other words, these things are shown as terrible, even if they are common in this setting. There's just one moment where all the tits shown cannot justify their owner's attitudes. Before that, according to the Panther's tradition, Panther would undo the wedding on a whim. Perzo swallowed his pride and had Ophan and Kasdan as guests in their house, and dared stoically the loving gaze between Panther and Ophan. Yet, having control over the situation, Pepah's mother forces her husband to see her making advances on another. And no, if it was a man forcing a woman, it would not have been better. It doesn't matter how the New York Times tries to spin this. Consent is sacred. When the couple reappeared, Pepah recognizes the old signs of pure satisfaction on her mother. She felt proud of her parents. It's quite weird having to say this, but the family's males are much more respectful about the sex issue. A promiscuous absent father, a half-brother outraged by Pepah being a part of his family and who wants to abandon her, and a king that promised his daughters to his nephew. Each one of them refuses the opportunity of having relations with her, even though their cultural history and scenario allows for that. The father and the half-brother even consider her feelings, to the point the father explains she isn't the problem, and her brother stops when she decides she doesn't want it anymore, and only has relations with her consent after having saved her from an attack. On the other hand, her mother abuses her privileges. The queen suggests allowing her daughters having sex while young, and the abuse she would have suffered in the bar is due to an impatient female, maybe Star's cousin, who throws her to a group of men offering to pay so they would take her virginity. And that's not the worst part. While Pepah's presence still causes discord, especially because the princesses are afraid their betrothed cousin would give up on them for a piece of first-grade pork loin, sister, the twins drug the wine served in a feast, leading them all to succumb to their sexual desires for those they are with. The king getting with Pepah, Othon getting with the queen, his son getting with the princesses, and the slave having to relieve herself alone. There are panels of sex, yes? But it's so little, if you get hard over that, you might as well jerk off for dumplings thinking of tits.
I masturbated to an extra curvy piece of driftwood the other day!
And this might be the best example of what I'm trying to say. In this world, princesses show their bodies to try to win over their future husbands. The queen and king consider ignoring if they were initiated too soon by their betrothed, but they are punished for what they did, and everyone is tense over it, making father and son fight until the three leave the kingdom. In other words, the world is brutal, but there's still respect. It's like knowing rapists weren't arrested, but castrated in days past. Shocking, but not without reason. So the book can be seen as the personal story of a woman becoming an adult, but also an exploration of the issue of respect as to sex. It's one of those stories that isn't for everyone, and it's not daisies and sunflowers, but I find the treatment realistic enough for the setting, and the idea is important. Nowadays, this would easily be attacked for teaching wrong things, although it is for adults in a completely different world, and even being about different species, and specifically in favor of self-control and punishment for those who disrespect others. So if you want to know how a woman might live in times of Conan without all the filter and He-Man, I recommend it. And tits. Second day, if you notice any difference in lighting, it's because, I couldn't finish everything in one day. God damn it. That were my cats. It was actually quite cute, and one is following the other, and it was like red light, green light, but then the other escapes onto the sofa where my camera is. Hi beautiful people, and welcome to another feeling around and that for adults should be in the front cover and much more seeable.